Vicmarc Oval Device VOD. Please note, before fitting your VOD on the lathe, make sure that the VOD thread insert and the lathe spindle have been cleaned properly. Then fit the insert to the VOD. Fitting the VOD to the lathe. Loosen the 4 M8 nuts of the support stand. Remove the lathe bed clamping bolt and clamping plate. Mount the VOD on the lathe drive shaft in the same manner that you would to fit a chuck. Ensure that all threads and mounting faces are clean and lubricated. Hold the lathe bed clamping plate under the bed. Insert the bolt in the bottom of the support stand and tighten. Ensure that none of the rotating parts are touching the cover. The cover can now be moved backward or forward by loosening the 2 M6 socket head cap screws in the centre line adjustment collar, which is located on the left side of the VOD cover. Finger tighten the 4 M8 nuts of the support stand. Before tightening these nuts, measure each side of the bottom half of the casing to ensure it's horizontal on the lathe centre line. This becomes an important reference point when setting the centre line of the oval workpiece. When the cover is level, tighten the 4 M8 nuts. Once this initial setup is complete, the VOD can be removed and remounted on the same lathe without further adjustment by removing the bed clamping bolt and unscrewing the drive shaft. There are 3 adjustments that can be made to the VOD. 1. The balance weights. 2. The length-width ratio of the oval. 3. The centre line of the oval. 1. The balance weights. These are fitted to compensate for the out-of-centre forces generated by the VOD. These out-of-centre forces can be split into 2 categories, fixed and variables. The fixed off-centre forces are generated by the drivetrain drive shaft and faceplate or chuck. The variable force is generated by the workpiece, which changes weight as it's machined. The balance weights are adjusted by 2 methods: changing the number of weights or varying the offset. The weights are attached to a sliding plate, which can be adjusted by loosening the nuts and increasing or decreasing the offset of the weights and the sliding plate. In practice, a perfect balance will not be achieved because of the variable factor, but a compromise which permits enough RPM to work the timber without excessive vibration is easily attained. Front cover removed for filming purposes. 2. The oval length-width ratio can be adjusted by moving the sliding plate that fits inside the balance plate. A scale with graduation between 0 to 30 millimeters indicates the degree of offset available. To change the settings, loosen the 3 bolts holding the plate. Loosen the nut on the belt tensioning pulley and slacken the belt tensioning bolt. Adjust the offset to the required amount by rotating the knurled nut. Tighten the 3 bolts holding the plate. Retension the drive belt and lock in by tightening the belt pinion nut. Please note, with the offset adjusted to 25 millimeters, the length of the oval will be 100 millimeters more than the width. The tension on the rear belt should be checked before each job. 3. The centre line of the oval. Once the workpiece has been mounted in either a chuck or faceplate, it is possible to change the alignment of the centre line without disturbing the mounting. This can be done by locking the lathe with the indexing knob, loosening the 2 Allen bolts on the locking collar, then rotating the workpiece to the required position. Tighten the screws on the collar and disconnect the indexing knob. Remove faceplate if not needed. The tool support system. To create a perfect oval, all cuts must be made on the horizontal centre line of the lathe. Any cuts above or below centre line will change the shape of the oval. Vicmarc has designed the tool support system to enable the user to do this in conjunction with the normal tool rest. The tool post is mounted in bearings with a camlock base to secure it in any position on the lathe bed. The 3 horizontal support bars can be mounted at any height on the tool post. When a tool is inserted in the support bars, it sits on the tool rest. Set the height of the tool rest so that the cutting edge of the tool, be it a gouge or a scraper, is exactly at the centre line of the lathe. A locking collar for the tool rest post is supplied with the kit. Lock this in place, then the tool rest can be moved without disturbing this height adjustment. Check the height adjustment of the support bars on the pivoting tool post to ensure the system is moving freely with the tool sitting on the tool rest. Note that this setup needs to be checked each time a tool is changed. Mounting workpieces. If a workpiece is to be turned over during turning, that is, producing a bowl, it's essential that chuck mounting or faceplate positions be cut or marked on both sides of the workpiece beforehand. This is best carried out on the lathe before the VOD is installed. Aligning the workpiece. Regardless of the shape of the blank workpiece, it's necessary to align the grain of the timber with the centre line of the oval. Immediately above the knurled nut, there is a reference mark on the main carrier. Rotate the VOD by hand until this mark is level with the top edge of the outer casing. In this position, the centre line of the oval is vertical. If using a chuck, mount the work with the grain vertical. If using a faceplate, screw the faceplate onto the shaft with the work in place, then adjust the oval centre line as previously described in section 3. Once the workpiece is satisfactorily mounted, set the tool rest to centre line height and mark the oval by turning the assembly by hand with a pencil or felt pen resting on the tool rest. It is now possible to remove the workpiece, marking the chuck or faceplate, bandsaw the blank to the oval shape and reassemble. This saves a lot of time turning up out of balance blanks. When the underside of a bowl is completed and the workpiece is turned over, it must be remounted on exactly the same alignment. This can be achieved by resetting the VOD alignment to the vertical position as previously described in section 3. Then remount the workpiece. A final check of alignment can be carried out by marking the workpiece inside the outer edge. This line should be evenly spaced with the outer edge all round. Minor adjustments can be made using the locking collar until alignment is perfect. When the turning is completed, the finished bowl can be mounted in the Vicmarc bowl jaws on a lathe without the VOD fitted. By using only 4 of the 8 mounting blocks on the bowl jaws, the oval bowl can be mounted centrally to enable the base to be turned. Removing the chuck or faceplate from the VOD. To prevent stress on the drive belts, insert a spanner on the drive shaft behind the chip cover plate. The end of the spanner can rest on the outer casing, preventing the VOD from turning, and then remove the chuck or faceplate. Removing the VOD from the lathe. Lock the lathe spindle and unscrew the insert of the VOD by using the C spanner supplied. Do not attempt to unscrew the VOD from any other point.